Today, we have Masashi Kishimoto-sensei, the creator of Naruto.
Hello, thanks for having me.
First off, I want to ask about where it all started. Before Naruto took off, how long was that grinding period while you were trying to make it as a manga artist?
I officially debuted back in 1996 after winning a rookie award for my work, Karakuri. So from then until Naruto started in 1999, it was about 3 years as a pro. During that time, I got the chance to publish a one-shot version of Naruto, and that's what led to the full series.
I heard the real challenge actually started after the series began, right?
That's exactly right. The real hell, the real paying my dues period started then. My body just couldn't keep up with the cycle of finishing a chapter in 7 days. Every single week after I turned in my manuscript, I'd get a high fever and throw up everything I ate. I went to the hospital and the doctor told me, look, your cells are literally dying. You have to rest. But taking a break when the series had just started, that's basically a death sentence. It means cancellation. There was no way I could rest. I lost about 33 pounds back then.
With all that pressure, what was it that kept you going? What was your anchor?
It was definitely the reader pulse. In Jump, popularity is everything. It's a tough world where it's basically, if you're not popular, we don't need you. The pressure was insane, but the first time I hit #1 in the polls, I was just so incredibly happy. That was for the chapter in the Land of Waves arc, where Naruto pulled off that wild move of transforming into a shuriken. My editor was so genuinely happy, and seeing him like that, that was the first time I really felt like, okay, maybe I can actually make this work. It felt like the real struggle was finally over.
Right. That makes total sense. And then it just blew up into this huge long-running series. Did you have the whole story pretty much mapped out from the very beginning?
It's not like I had everything figured out from the get-go, but the main pillars of the story, I had those locked in from the very beginning. For example, the fact that Naruto's father is the 4th Hokage. And most importantly, that the story would end with Naruto and Sasuke fighting and then making up. Of course, the big challenge was how to make that ending feel earned and convincing, but I think having that destination in mind was what allowed me to keep the story on track for 15 years without losing its way.
So, it sounds like a lot of the story evolved as you went along, huh?
Yeah. It was like building a scaffold around those main pillars. The specific details of the 4th Great Ninja War or the romantic relationships, those things were decided as the story unfolded. And it's the same with the characters. Once they come to life, they really stop listening to what I, the author, want them to do, you know? I guess you could call it character autonomy or something?
Out of all the characters in the series, who was the hardest one for you to get right?
Without a doubt, Sasuke Uchiha. And it's not that he was hard to draw physically. It was moving him forward in the story that was the real challenge. He's a passive character who won't act on his own unless there's some strong external force. I constantly had to create situations to push the plot forward without betraying his personality. Once a character is established, they can't lie. As the embodiment of the cycle of hatred, he was constantly challenging the story I was trying to build. That struggle with Sasuke, that might have been the very engine that drove the drama of the entire story.
I really feel like your own philosophy shines through in Naruto, so I've got to ask, what does being a shinobi mean to you?
To me, a shinobi isn't really an assassin or a spy. It's one who endures and perseveres through all things. That's why Naruto wears that bright orange outfit, which is the least shinobi-like thing ever, and yells, "I'm Naruto!" It's the total opposite of being stealthy, right? It's more like striking a Mie pose in Kabuki.
And I think that comes across strongest in the Pain arc. You know, when Naruto decides to face his master's killer, Pain, not with revenge, but by trying to talk and understand him.
That was a huge gamble. That cycle of hatred of an eye for an eye, someone has to be the one to break it. But trying to do that in a shonen manga is kind of taboo. I really agonized over it, wondering, can this actually work as a story?
But to make that ending I talked about, where Naruto and Sasuke finally reconcile, feel convincing, Naruto had to be a character with the capacity to forgive others.
The pain arc was basically a grand trial designed to make Naruto experience that act of forgiveness.
After finishing something as huge as Naruto, you jumped right into a new challenge with Samurai 8, The Tale of Hachimaru. But it ended up finishing much earlier than planned. Looking back on it now, how do you break down why it didn't quite work out?
In a nutshell, I think I just didn't consider the readers enough. I had this ambition to fuse two things I love, traditional Japanese themes and sci-fi, but the world building and the jargon were just too complicated. I also got feedback that the art was too detailed, to the point where it was hard to tell what was going on, and I also regret that the main character's actions came off as grotesque, which made it hard for people to sympathize with him.
Do you think the massive success of Naruto might have affected it in some unexpected way?
I think so. I felt that maybe I'd focused too much on the side characters' stories in Naruto, so with Samurai 8, I tried to put more of a spotlight on the protagonist. The result was that I front-loaded way too much lore and setup before readers had a chance to get attached to the characters. You can't compete and jump just on past glory. It was a painful lesson that really drove that cold, hard fact home for me.
After Samurai 8, it feels like you've gone back to your roots. Could you tell us what you're up to these days?
Yes, right now I'm more deeply involved in the story of Boruto. At first my role was just supervisor, but I took over writing the script from chapter 52 of the manga in 2020. And now with the sequel to Blue Vortex, I'm officially credited for the original story.
So you're right back in the thick of it. What made you decide to dive back in so completely?
Boruto is a very personal story for me. When we were making the Boruto movie, I remember saying something like, "This film feels like I'm putting my own personal life on display." The disconnect between Naruto, who's become this busy Hokage, and his son Boruto, that strongly reflects my own struggles with being a father. After finishing the challenge that was Samurai 8, I decided it was time to explore the changes in my own stage of life and to do it in the world I know best.
Lastly, I want to ask about your relationship with Eiichiro Oda-sensei, the creator of One Piece. You two basically defined a golden age of Shonen Jump together.
For me, Oda-san is like Sasuke is to Naruto. I always saw him as my rival. I think a big reason Naruto went as far as it did was because I had that drive of wanting to catch up to One Piece, to beat it.
Would you say you're the ultimate rivals, always pushing each other to be better?
Yeah, even during our serializations, we were conscious of not letting our work's themes overlap. Since Oda-san was drawing this grand adventure epic, I made it so that Naruto would always return to the village after his missions were over. Oda-san even told me, the only reason two big battle fantasy with special powers series could coexist in Jump was all thanks to you, Kishimoto-san. Our relationship was maybe of mutual prosperity, where the existence of one of us raised the value of Jump as a whole. In the issue of Jump that had the final chapter of Naruto, when Oda-san filled the title page of One Piece with all these homages to Naruto, I was just so happy. His words in the author comment section, "Same age, my friend and my rival," that was exactly how I'd felt all along.
And to close us out, could you please give a message to all the fans out there?
The story of Naruto was in a way the story of my own life of endurance. I was only able to make it to the finish line because all of you, the readers, were there watching over that struggle and growth. And now, that story has been passed on to Boruto. The story of Naruto Uzumaki is over, but my own story and the story of the world I created is not finished yet. I hope you'll continue to watch over their growth along with me.
We're all excited to see where your own story as a shinobi goes from here.